Hey,
Hey,
Matt,
hey,
how are you doing?
good, good. How are
You
you?
sound rushed, winded. Are you all right?
I am. I am. I. Oh,
What's up?
wait. I've got. I've got it. I've got it playing in another place. Hold on.
Oh
Listen,
no, you're hearing yourself in repeat.
I'm hearing myself. Okay.
Echo.
It's like, wait, didn't I? Am I hearing myself? What? Okay.
Who is this talking?
Yeah, yeah. I winded because I needed to. I need to. I needed to comb my hair and what little hair I have,
You do have
and I
like one
didn't
little
do that.
thing. Yeah, you got it. You got
Yeah, there's like little horn, like occasionally little horns.
it.
It,
So I'll share a little
Tony,
tip with you. Sometimes a hat's
yeah,
handy because mine doesn't look that great either.
hats are good. Hats are good. Closest I have right now is a sweater, and so maybe I can just do that.
No,
Yeah.
leave it over the face. It's perfect. I've got a haircut this afternoon, so yeah, my beard's a mess. Whatever. I just shove a
I
hat on
haven't. It's interesting. I have not been to a to get my haircut done by somebody else in 4 years, 3 years since
I
COVID.
I feel like a little bit different in the industry. I There's a few things that I'm like really okay with outsourcing it. And one of those is like personal hygiene kind of stuff. I'm just terrible remembering to get my haircut and stuff like that. So I just schedule that
Yeah,
stuff in advance. And actually I pay a little bit more for a haircut
yeah,
to go to a salon just because like you can do that stuff. Like whereas as a barber it might be a little bit different.
right.
But I just get it all kind of taken care of. Because like I'm terrible at remembering to cut my hair and it's always a panic before something. It's awful.
Yeah, I never remember until Tony, my wife, says, "Oh, it's Mad Professor." Um,
It's that time you get the
it's like,
coming out of the
oh,
sides or whatever.
yeah, yeah, and that's when I pull out the razor and just go at it for. I mean, it's
Yeah,
my hair is easy enough that I could just go. I mean, I need her to get the back because I can't see it, which is there was one point where I wanted it, a decent length,
right.
like the longest I could get with the trimmers. Um, and I asked her to get the back, and all of a sudden I see this. She's a little bit shorter than me. She's like behind, and all of a sudden see her head pop over my shoulder with a "oops." It's like, okay, I guess I'm getting even shorter this time.
That's happened to
Um,
me both
yeah,
on my own as well as my partner cutting my hair. Yeah, it happens.
yeah,
Those guards are kind of flimsy if you're pushing too hard. They just
yeah, yeah. Actually, I think I might have even gone like shave all the way at that time, and it's like, oh, this is great. I'm going to do this every single time, and I haven't done it since because it's
yeah,
a little
it's a
bit,
lot of work.
traumatic.
When I was younger, I used to do it, and yeah, my mother, who may appear in the comments, did not like the way I looked. But it was great for soccer. I felt like I could control the ball a lot
Yeah,
better. I don't know. Because like when the ball's
yeah.
rotating and it hits your head, it might flip a bit. It's just
Ah,
random
yeah.
stuff.
Oh.
I wasn't that good at soccer. What's new in startup land? Are you? Do you have any new talks coming up?
No,
Anything like that?
no, no. Well, I do. I do. I'm very excited. I got accepted
Yeah,
to my favorite conference there is on the planet.
KubeCon.
That conference.
That excellent.
That
I've met some of
in
the
Wisconsin
organizers.
Dells.
Yeah, they're really nice people.
Yeah, that it's great. It's such a great conference, and Stella's not old enough yet, but
Right.
I think really I mean they've got a kids track, and the kids
Yeah, yeah,
track
they're definitely
has
family friendly.
yeah, I mean they have like painting, they have circuits, learning circuits for
Mm,
young kids, and even I mean I think maybe a little bit older, but soldering and all sorts of neat things that
super cool.
kids can do, and a lot of the sessions that are for those kids sometimes are even taught by other kids. And
That's
so
awesome.
they get the local zoo to bring in animals and those are the times where it's like, wow, SSH or animals. I'm gonna go with the animals and
Yeah,
go pet some tigers and stuff. Not tigers, but pet some animals. And yeah, it's Wisconsin Dells, July 23 or so. So I'm excited about going there.
right on. I've never
Yeah.
been to Wisconsin before.
No, that's the only time I've been now twice to that conference, I think. And it's the only time I've been to Wisconsin. You know, I've flown into Madison last time and then
Hmm.
um stayed for one extra night in Madison, which was
Right.
fantastic. Um and stayed at the Graduate, which is a really cool small hotel chain. And yeah, it's just a great little town. Um this time I'm thinking of actually flying into Chicago
Okay.
and then driving, just because
Interesting.
the airfare airfare to Chicago is like 600. Airfare to Madison is about 1100.
Whoa. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely more
Yeah.
economical.
Yeah.
That's kind of
And
ridiculous.
yeah, it is insane. And then even from Madison, you've got an hour Uber ride or whatever, so that's not going to be cheap.
Right.
Um, so you're looking at renting a car no matter what.
Right.
So let's just do it in Chicago, and it's only a 2.5 hour drive or so. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
just better
surprises me
make
for
sure my
airfare in the
return
US.
is not, huh?
It
I
surprises me
better,
for airfare in the US. That sounds
yeah,
like a
yeah,
Canadian thing, like really expensive domestic flights kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. Like my flight to Toronto was I don't know, $1,100 for economy. I mean, I'm not going business for these. This is economy, and it's like what? It's
That's
insanity.
rough. It is
Yeah.
pretty rough.
So,
What's like the food of choice in Wisconsin? Am I wrong in thinking is this cheesehead country? I'm trying to think about
I
football,
so I
right?
I
And the fans and
I
stuff.
I'm trying to remember. There was one place I went around the same time, and I couldn't remember if it was Wisconsin or it must be Wisconsin. I went to this restaurant that had fried cheese curds,
Oh,
and oh
oh,
my god, oh my
that sounds
god,
amazing.
that is. But I can't remember where I did it. I mean, I'm I'm going back
I,
and forth, but there was also this
you've
really
lost me.
great
I don't
place
want
I
to talk
remember
about
going
tech
to, like
anymore.
in like South Carolina or North Carolina, one of those states,
Ah,
like Charlotte or uh, and I feel like I might have had it there,
ah.
but I don't know. So
My eyes are
and
watering. Just it sounds
I,
amazing.
we had we went somewhere else pretty recently. And I saw fried cheese curds were on the menu, and I got them, and Tony thought that sounds disgusting. We are not having that. It's like, well, I'm getting it, and you don't
Yeah,
have to have any, but
yeah,
I'm gonna have some. And she took one bite. It's like, oh my god, these are incredible.
yeah. I love cheese curds. I mean, it's like a
Oh
big
yeah,
part of poutine, obviously. It's
yeah.
like, yeah, and deep fried sauce is just next
Oh
level.
god, it's so good. And then Madison is just this great town. So if I drive from Chicago, I'm not going to go to Madison, but
Right.
uh, so hard. But I'm sure they have cheese curds and fried cheese curds elsewhere. If it was in fact Wisconsin that I got them in.
So I looked it up just to make sure, but it is in fact known as America's Dairyland. So
Okay.
it's famous for cheeses and other products. But yeah,
Okay.
I thought
Okay.
so. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. So
Gotta
so
have
yeah,
that cheese.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm a big fan of cheese.
So I'll be talking about key pairs, SSH key pairs.
Right on.
So
That's awesome. That's one of those things that we use on a daily basis, but explaining to people who are like kind
yes.
of new to the industry can be quite difficult.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to like challenge your assumptions about the way things work, especially when somebody messes up like their SSH config file in ways that you've
Right.
not seen before. It can always be fun.
Right. Right.
Very cool.
So it happens to be one of the big things that we're working on at Infra. So
Oh, there you go.
yeah.
There you go. It's really
Yeah.
cool. So next week I'll be away. I don't know
Oh.
where yet. We're still like looking at the weather, but it's our anniversary. I think it's our 20 something. I
Okay.
should know. Anniversary. I'm pretty sure it is. Somebody above will like yell down at me, but I'm pretty sure it is. We're just trying to find a spot to go, possibly a road trip or something
Yeah.
like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, yeah, it
Okay.
should be
So
fun.
no show that next week. Okay.
we'll see. I'll be on the road to play it by ear, but I think based on previous experience, I
That's
would say
good.
no.
That's good. Yeah. And then I'll
You've got
be
other more
in,
important shows anyway.
yeah. Then I'll be in Amsterdam in a couple weeks, in 3 weeks.
Very cool.
So
Speaking of good food,
for
yeah.
Con. Yeah.
Stroop waffles, is that the right term? Is that how you say that?
Stroop waffles, yeah, yeah. That's definitely one thing. One of there are probably a few things, few like edibles that I'm looking forward to. A stroop waffle, definitely, and pancakes. You know, the Dutch
Okay.
pancakes, always a great thing. Um, you know, whether you go with fancy pancakes, Dutch pancakes with the kind of sweet or savory. So sweet would
Right.
be with some sort of Nutella on it, or other fruits and stuff, or even the savory where you get like cheese and bacon and other types of stuff
Oh,
add on the, oh, good
why are
stuff.
we talking about food? You're killing
or
me.
even or even the local grocery store, Albert Heijn,
Yep.
has the pancakes like in like a pack of 10 in a packet in the refrigerated section. And I mean, they're
Nice.
not great, but throw them in the
Still,
microwave, they're good enough.
yeah, easy
Um,
carbs.
and then I'm looking forward to the Bush Bowls. So a lot of the cities all around, at least around the Netherlands and maybe other parts of Europe, are known for like one thing, one kind of pastry. And there's an area down towards the south called Den Bosch, and I think it's Den Bosch that has it. It has this Bosch Bowl, and the Bosch Bowl is this like miracle of I don't know how they do this. This is this ball. It's about, I don't know, 4 inches round or so, made of
Okay.
pastry, and it's like the most perfect pastry possible.
Hmm.
But then the insides are filled with cream, and it's like the most perfect cream possible, like just wonderful. I mean, you imagine this pastry ball filled with cream. There's no way to eat this without making a mess. They're gonna have cream
Oh,
everywhere.
I finally found a. Yeah, I was trying to find the spelling for it.
But
This does
then
look very messy.
and then that is covered in chocolate.
Is it like a
So
long john, but it's just like a spherical long john,
I don't know what
or
a
is
long
that
john is.
a long johns? You know, like those long pastries that are filled with
Eclairs?
custard or cream. Yeah, like an eclair. Is it
Yeah,
like a
except this is all the way
spherical
360 everywhere covered in chocolate.
360
There is
eclair?
no, you do not see any pastry, but you know the pastry is back there. And so and really you want this kind of cool, that way the paste the chocolate isn't all over your hands. But sometimes, I mean, sometimes there's just no choice and you just have to do it melted. And because I mean there is no choice. And so if you can find lots of them in the great pastry shops all around Amsterdam. But
Right.
even worst case, Albert Heijn again comes to rescue, because they get like a pack of two in their refrigerated section, and they all have them. And they're not great. They're not the best, but they're good enough. Um,
I,
so
the Wikipedia article even says they're messy. It says like you can traditionally
oh
eat
yeah,
them with your fingers, which can be messy. Apparently, the next level thing, according to Wikipedia, is to eat them upside down, um, or with a knife and fork. But apparently, traditionalists might frown upon this. So like
yes,
upside down seems to be the way to do it, but your fingers are going to touch the chocolate. There's no way
yeah,
around that.
yeah. Yeah, I was introduced to it when I worked at OpenText and I went down to
Hmm.
see Ricoh, the camera.
Yep,
I guess they do
imaging
cameras,
company.
but they're mostly
Yep,
imaging, yeah,
they do printing.
and
Yep.
copiers. And so I went down to Ricoh, down towards the south, and they had brought in a bunch of pastries, including a few of these Bosch balls, and they were
Nice.
looking forward to me tackling this Bosch ball at this meeting. It's like, I said,
Like
"Do I
live.
use a knife and fork?" It's like, "Oh, no, 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 no. You must use your hands."
They just want to laugh at
And
you get messy.
they had great fun watching me devour
Of
this
course.
Bosch ball. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to beer. A few
Okay.
great beer locations. I mean, the beers, it's going to be like a, um, I guess a lager, kind of a Heineken kind of beer, and there's lots of
Right.
varieties. And but I'm most looking forward to having that beer at one of the. There's like 3 or 4 places you can get a beer in the Vondel Park, like in the actual park.
Okay.
Um, so it's just amazing sitting on a nice-ish day, sitting outside, watching people go by, drinking a beer is just spectacular. And then there's my, even though I lived there for 10 years, my pronunciation is always bad, but Browery to I, it's a old windmill that has a brewery
Nice.
down in the bottom of it. And
Nice.
so it's a lot of sitting outdoors but drinking this amazing beer, and it's a beautiful you're in this windmill that's on the east side of Amsterdam. So yeah, there's a number of things I'm looking forward to doing. We got some great restaurant reservations already set, and so it should be really good.
Now, are you a fan of Trappist beer? Because again, doing some quick research, it
Mm.
looks like the
Hmm.
2 of the 10 Trappist beer places are in the Netherlands, and one
Oh
of them
yeah.
is called La Trappe, I guess. I'm not sure if it's
Uh-huh.
French or what have you, but it apparently it's just like traditional good beer. It's not in a
Yeah.
windmill, but it is in a pretty cool location. But it's in Berkel Enschede, so it's probably a little bit further away from where you are. But it does look quite good. I'm sure you can get this everywhere.
La Trappe.
Apparently, Heineken controls 50% of this market, which could be no
Yes.
surprise to anyone.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, okay. I know. I recognize the glass.
Yeah, it seems to
I
be
mean,
pretty
'cause
popular, right? I've seen it here.
yeah. And the with if you go to get any beer in um uh any place in Amsterdam, if they stock the beer, they also have the glass, and every beer has
Nice,
a different glass.
right?
Um and I don't know if you looked. I saw the I went to a webpage, the Belgian Beer Company, and I saw down at the bottom they had a link to another beer, which I also really, really love. It's called Kwak,
Okay,
um,
haven't heard of it.
Kwak. And what's especially great about getting Kwak, especially when you get on draft in Amsterdam, is the glass is this flute, like a flute that gets narrow at the bottom and it goes into a ball at the bottom,
Oh,
and
cool.
so it will not stand on its own. So it's got kind of like a test
Right.
tube stand that you
Okay.
hold it in, and so both things get super sticky because, I mean, it's not
Oh, I
melting in
see
the
this.
glass.
Yeah.
And then
What
you
a
take
cool
it out
thing.
and you take a sip, and at some point there's this where the air escapes gets into the ball. You hear this squawk, which is
Quack.
great. So I love getting there's one bar that I always used to go to in Amsterdam. I can't never remember the name. It's only got like a table and a half. Maybe like 8 people
Okay.
can fit inside it, along one of the alleyways, kind of to the northern part of
Mhm.
Centrum. And hopefully that's still around. Or if not, Indivildeman is another favorite bar there that I'm looking forward to seeing. So
It sounds
such
like
good
quite the
places.
trip. Yeah, we're getting hungry and thirsty here.
Yeah, I know, so yeah, so
That sounds awesome. I haven't had like a good. I guess during COVID, I kind of stayed away from beer. I didn't want to
hmm
be on the couch just drinking beer all day. I gained enough weight on
right,
my own. And I like, yeah, this looks really good. These Trappist
yeah,
beers look amazing. The Quack looks really good.
yeah, yeah. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Is there anything in the news that you saw that was interesting? Anything you wanted to discuss?
No, but you pointed out a couple of things. I
Yeah.
like
I'm
the
setting myself up here for a layup.
yeah. You pointed out the Apple Music classical thing of being. Was that just turned on recently?
It was, yeah. I think either today or yesterday it came out. So it's like it's got like its own app. So I don't know
Yeah.
how I think some of the stuff that they were doing was part of Beats. So I think the
Hmm.
new app is primarily Beats based, if I understand properly, because it ran on Android and iOS when they made the
Mm.
big switch. My understanding is the underpinnings were Beats, but I do wonder what's new in this app because like classical has different needs, I guess, than most music. It's
Yeah.
like your suggestions and stuff like that are going to be kind of different. So I would like to try it to figure out. I don't listen to too much classical, but when I'm like coding or trying to do some like read a book or something like that, I do like having something on in the background that's not too distracting. And I find classical is pretty good
Right.
for that.
Yeah, we had
Nothing too heavy.
subscribed to Adagio for probably
Okay.
8, 9 months, which is a
Right.
competing classical streaming app.
Right.
Um, because I mean, with classical, it's you're I mean, with regular, well, with more common popular music, you're listening to a band play their music. And the band, in the case of classical music, well, it didn't exist. There was a
Right.
somebody who wrote it off a lot of the time, 300, 400 years ago.
Right.
And there was no there's a whole bunch of covers of of that band.
Right.
How and then everybody has their own like interpretation of the original music or the original.
Right.
There wasn't like a source recording because there weren't really recordings then. So and so how you interpret the notes on the page is going to be different. And it looks pretty good. um it's not I played around with it because I have Apple Music for free because of my Verizon account. Um,
Nice.
and But I never touch it because I mean I don't I, I don't really, because they haven't had a classical section, or they've had classical, but it's like Spotify's attempt to do classical. It's kind of
It's
garbage.
not good. Yeah, it's pretty bad
No,
actually.
and so that's why Adagio and similar services can survive, because they
Mhm.
know that anybody who wants to, sometimes there are different things that you might follow. You might love all of Beethoven and just want to, or
Right.
Handel, or somebody else.
Right.
You like that composer, and then you like to hear all the different ways that's done. Or maybe you really like the certain groups or
Right.
orchestras.
The
So
Philadelphia
um,
Philharmonic or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Academy of St. Martin in the Fields, or
Ooh.
the Tallis scholars who focus on a lot of Gregorian and similar kind of a chorus, or and they have what was it? Academy of Ancient Music is another which had
Oh, nice.
um, and they had and similar ones to Academy Edge Music. There were a few that have chose to do all their pieces on like original instruments, not the modernized version of a cello, or modernized version of a flute. But what did
Right.
the flute look like back in those early days? um and so you might choose to focus on that group, or maybe it's Neville Mariner, who is mostly associated with Academy of or the St. Martin in the Fields,
Mhm.
or some of the other composers, or not composers, conductors, um,
Conductors, yeah.
or there might be just you want to focus. I mean, different people like different types of things, and what I've seen so far, when I brought up, I happen to bring up one thing from done by Neville Mariner, um, and I could then see the track, and then I could see, okay, well, here's all the like the main things, the orchestra that did it, the conductor, the main players who were the main soloists, and I could click on any one of them and go to other tracks that include
Yeah.
just that orchestra, and that is something that's missing from like so many
Yeah, yeah,
other
yeah.
tools. And so far, I mean, it's like this. Okay, this is a reason to open up Apple Music for me.
Right,
Um,
or like a different front end to it. That I think
yeah,
that's what really interested me. So I kind of like listen to classical music once in a while,
yeah,
but what I really found interesting is like, hey, they say in the release notes that like this is the same as Apple Music. They repeat it like multiple times. If you
hmm
already get classical music in Apple Music, you can still use those playlists over here, which means like this is all the same back end. So I was trying to think, okay, so like
mm,
imagine this is your problem. You're trying to develop the system. You got like this music playing app database. and like
Right.
recommendation engine and all this like metadata and maybe a schema for your database. So like has we're
Hmm.
talking about like various artists, right? Is what kills you in classical music. You
Hmm.
have like VA or V.A or V-A
Right.
or various artists spelled out or whatever. And then yeah, you've got a ton of soloists and stuff like that that like aren't they're in the metadata, but they're not exposed in the app. So you can't pivot or maybe like that data, but it's not exposed in the metadata for the other app because it doesn't make sense to talk about all the people playing guitar and all
Right.
that stuff. But I do think conversely, in regular music, maybe I like this guitarist and I'd like to know where this
Hmm.
guitarist has ended up, as
Right.
opposed to like just showing me the band names. Like maybe I actually do
Yeah.
want to know who the vocalist or the lyricist was
Yeah.
so I can see other songs that they've written. Especially when we're
Right.
talking about like pop music, because a lot of that stuff they'll have different contributors or like
Right.
different remixes and stuff like that. So there are
Yeah.
portions of this type of schema that are pretty
Yeah.
interesting for like maybe EDM or something like
Yeah.
that genre of music where they're constantly remixing stuff and they're taking like a
Right.
not a jazz standard, but like an EDM standard, and they're having
Right.
different plays on it. I
Yeah.
do feel like that is pretty handy for other types of music. It's
Yeah.
just very specific to classical. And what I thought was really interesting is like this isn't a mode in Apple Music. This is a
Right.
whole different app. I feel like people
Yeah.
who like classical music generally don't care about the rest of the
Yeah.
music. They want their own
Yeah.
app for it, which is like
Right.
kind of saying something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like where's my punk rock music app? Like where's my hip hop app or my reggae app or something like that? But I do like the fact that to me it felt like a materialized view kind of thing. So they've
Yeah.
taken bits of the database and they've crafted
Yeah.
in a way that it has a different view, so it looks like a different database, even though the background data is the same.
Yep.
And I'm oversimplifying this problem, obviously, but I did think that was interesting to take the same sort of
Yeah.
data, but give a different view using a different app in
Yeah.
order to access it, and then allow people to unlock like different things. Like when you're talking about, hey, I like this soloist. Let's see what
Yeah.
else they've done in the past few
Yeah.
years, that kind of thing. Or let's follow their career progression to figure out
Right.
how they started
Yeah.
as like a bit player in a big orchestra
Yeah.
and then became like jumped up the ranks throughout the years.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit different in classical music than it would be in like a typical band because you got a lot of
But
people playing a lot of
yeah.
instruments.
But I mean, but as you say, I mean, this can definitely apply to more popular music as well, because
Right.
it would be interesting to know, well, there's a band that I really like that I don't think exists anymore called Fish. Not the PHISH, but the fish like spelled
Fish.
correctly.
Great.
Um is a Scottish band, and or the original band was called Marillion. And but Marillion had two different lead singers, and the newer lead singer kind of sucks, but the old lead singer was Fish. And it was much better. And being able to track, okay, well, when Fish left, he became this other thing, and having that connection to these other,
Right.
or even just looking at the other members. If you look at like Genesis, and the different players that were, or different musicians in Genesis, there was
Right.
Peter Gabriel, and there was Phil Collins, and there was Mike whatever from Mike and the Mechanics, and all these other groups came out of that. And being able to follow, kind of like as you work through IMDb and like kind of bounce around and spend,
Right.
look for one thing, and then 4 hours later you come
That's
out of
exactly what I was thinking of. Thank you.
yeah.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
perfect. And the reason it's interesting to me specifically for Apple Music is because, and this is like, we're going to go off on a bit of a tangent here. I'll try to return back to the subject. But we were painting the studio the other day and listening to music by a band called Strung Out. It's a punk band. And we just said, like, play the radio on Apple Music, which generally is pretty good.
Mhm.
I will say a couple things. One, it played a Strung Out band that is not the same Strung Out band. So that's kind of interesting. So it was doing like recommendation based on text, which is fine.
Mm.
It did, however, play solo acts from band members that were playing the
Oh,
songs
okay.
on their own. So it did have like that relationship. And it got, I don't know, it got kind of confused. It went down a hip hop path, which was fine. We both listened to hip hop, the studio runner and I. But it ended up playing this new band that neither of us had heard of, and then ended up playing like it was a duo basically. So that duo had two people, and started playing music by both people for a while, and eventually it just petered out and stopped. It's like we hit the end of the graph. But I did find it interesting that it knew who was in the band, so it could swap
Oh, right.
things,
Right.
as well as relating punk to hip hop, because it did go through like a gradual kind of change.
Oh, yeah.
It also played some really awful folk music that we couldn't figure out like how they related at all. And I think it's one of those like names were similar, but it was like
Right.
like Tracy Chapman, but it was a wrong Tracy Chapman kind of thing. So it was just like some I'm like soloist, and I was like, okay. I mean, it's not bad music. It's just it thematically doesn't fit at all.
Right.
But I did
Right.
find that interesting. That it seemed like they had the building blocks of these components in there. And then when I saw this announcement, I was thinking back, like, wait a second, yeah. In order to get through some of these hurdles, it would have had to know
Hmm.
who the band members are, like an IMDb for music,
Right.
and figuring
Right.
out like what else they've played in, while
Yeah.
at the same time making mistakes by like just using like their ID is like the band name and then finding
Right.
the wrong band, or the person's name and finding the wrong person.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that they're unique as well. So I'd say it's not perfect, but it sounds like they're changing things on the
Yeah.
Apple Music side, and that's kind of interesting too. Because so the band is Dark Time Sunshine. Like I can barely remember their name because it's kind of like
Hmm.
generic to me, but they're quite good.
Hmm.
It was like trip hop duo or something like that
Yeah.
from Seattle, Washington, of all places, and
Mm.
they're quite good.
Mm.
But like I wouldn't have found this otherwise, and the journey that we went through as we were
Right.
painting,
Right.
kind of doing repetitive stuff, was pretty cool. It was like a neat
Mm.
little, I don't know, it's like having a personal DJ kind of thing.
Yeah.
Ignoring the little
Yeah.
mistakes here and there that the AI made, but like
Yeah.
whatever they're
Yeah.
doing is pretty sweet.
Huh.
It's kind of like Pandora, like if you like this, you
Yeah.
might like this. And Pandora would break it
Right.
down. Like
Right.
you like repetitive guitar or like blast drum
Right.
beats or like a
Right.
certain synthesizer or something like that. But all those little components that Pandora had were so I don't know, granular, like very, very hyper
Yeah.
specific in Pandora. And I
Yeah.
kind of miss that. And it requires someone to
Yeah.
go through and like flag it. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
what they're doing or not, but we're definitely changing things up a bit. And I like it. I like hearing new music.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, recommendations from music. Yeah, I guess there are all these playlists. The automated playlists are kind of like this
Right.
recommendation engine that they have, and they're playing it. But sometimes I wish I just want to see like a list, and I can like start playing a little bit of that. Okay, let's move on
Right.
to a different list.
Right.
And probably the best of the recommendation engines for music that I've ever experienced um, was what you could get in Zune, the Zune app for the Microsoft Zune music player, which was spectacular. And when
You're the only person I've ever talked to that's like had a Zoom. I've been
yeah,
looking for you for years. That's
it was
amazing.
the
It was good.
at the especially at the time,
Yep.
you compared the just all the hardware about the Zune versus the iPod at the time. I mean, the
Right. I
iPod
mean, it trounced everybody
was
in terms of hardware
garbage.
specs.
The
Yeah.
iPod was
Yeah.
horrible at the time,
Right.
and the
Right.
Zune was just spectacular. I mean, the iPod had the better interface for like scrolling around and
Right.
the Zune had this weird D-pad like
It was odd.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, but the screen on the Zune was just so much better, and
Right.
just the software that ran on Windows for that you would download the music into onto the Zune hardware was just there. I have never seen anything that's come close to being as
Okay.
good a recommendation
I
engine.
thought you were gonna say it was bad because iTunes was terrible on Windows back then. It was very,
iTunes
very
was
bad.
awful, awful. And that was like the iTunes was the main reason I didn't go with an iPod because it was such a
Yeah.
bad experience.
Yeah.
And the Zune was just amazing. So
How
I
did it
love my
recommend
Zune.
songs though? Because like for the Zune, it was like bring your own music, right? Back in the day,
Yeah, well, no, no, no. It was a music service.
it had streaming.
Um,
Okay.
it had streaming, but it's not stream. I mean, you would
Oh,
choose the
like
music that
caching or
you
whatever. You
wanted,
you bring it
and
down and
then you would
okay,
download it to your Zune player.
gotcha.
And you could listen to it in the Zune app, yeah, like you would now. Um,
Right.
and then as I say, plug in your Zune player to your computer, and it would download all
Hmm.
that music. And you could. I seem to remember I could just plug it in every few days, and it would update my library with new stuff and constantly add more stuff to it, or remove some stuff, and depending on what I was playing, automatically remove and add stuff to the player. And it was just so I was always listening to something interesting and new and different. And I found so many bands that I never would have experienced had I not used the Zune ecosystem.
Yeah, I had a
When it
quick look
was
in this. Go ahead.
no, I mean it was definitely. I mean, I was in a different camp at the time. I mean, I was working when I had my Zune. I was a Microsoft employee, and so I probably got it because I got a really great deal because I was a Microsoft employee. But then they, I mean, I wasn't a Microsoft employee for a long, I mean, for about 5 years, and after that, I was still using my Zune until it finally died off.
This is pretty cool, actually. It looks like it was some of it was DRM free. I think it's been replaced by Groove Music, so I don't know if that has the same
Mm,
sort of interface. I haven't
mm.
used Groove Music. I've certainly uninstalled it from Windows a few times, just because like I'm not part of that
Yeah.
service. Very, very interesting. Wow.
It had a look and feel that's very, from what I remember, just going purely based off what's
Yeah.
in my head and not any reality. But I seem to remember like the look and feel, kind of like the whole, was it material for Google's material kind
Yeah,
of
it does look
library?
like that.
It's that
Right. Material
feel
design.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is really sweet, actually. I've never given it the time of day. I've
yeah,
never given Zune any
yeah,
brain space whatsoever. But I'm kind of interested now. This UI does look like way
yeah,
ahead of its time,
yeah.
which is kind of interesting. Wow.
I
And yeah,
probably
you're right.
have
The
it just
screen
on
is
the other
massive.
side of this door.
The funny thing is, when I was looking for it, there were a lot of Reddit posts saying like, "Hey, I really like this app. How do I get it working on Windows 10?" And apparently, it's
Yeah,
32-bit, so it's kind of hard to port.
yeah.
But a lot of people are actually asking how to run it in Windows 10 because they like it.
Oh,
And I'm not talking
yeah.
about like years ago. I'm talking like recently, like last year, this year,
Wow.
kind of thing. So there is a vocal minority out there trying to
Yeah,
still keep the Zoom player alive.
yeah, yeah. It was great.
That is really cool. And I wonder, so it must have done all of its recommendation then on the back end. So it's like assuming
Yeah,
some
I
ETL
mean,
job
I
or
think
something
there
like that.
must have been, I mean, at the time, I remember there would be various internal emails that would go out saying, "Oh, we're trying out this new recommendation engine. Can you see, you know, tell us
Ah,
what you, if you think it's good, or have it look at your entire library of ripped recordings and see if, experiment on your own stuff and then submit the results." And so that, I remember that was often going on internally at Microsoft. um, and uh, and and a lot of that was based on the, like, there was a lot of work being done in SQL Server for building recommendation engines inside a SQL Server based on the data that's in there. Often using, like there's that classic. One of the sample data sets was like a grocery store, which some real Midwest grocery store,
it's all
and then
cheese.
building recommendation engines on off of that data. Um, and I mean that's all, 20-year-old technology.
Right.
And I could imagine, and I think a lot of Zune was both those types of recommendation engines, but also they had I think a team of like editors that were, just going through the
Ah,
music and having that human connection,
right.
where they couldn't possibly connect this band to this band, but they realized,
Right.
oh, it's similar.
Right.
um
Right. Right.
and so there were, I want to say that there were a lot of humans involved in doing that, and so therefore it must have been pretty
Makes sense.
expensive.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Spotify does that for some of their playlists. I know for a fact like Beats does because they've got like that radio
Mm,
where there's an actual DJ that they use. And when I say Beats, I mean like Apple Music, but they've got Beats
yeah,
One is a perfect example of that. At Samsung, we used to have something called Milk Music, which you've probably not heard
hmm,
of. And again,
no,
similar to you using the Zune, I definitely tried out Milk Music, and as we had
yeah,
different things, but I think we finally landed on Slacker Radio is what we used. It
yeah,
was like we were using a back end service, and we just put like a front end on it. It actually was an awesome. Again, when you're
yeah,
like in an ecosystem, it works with all the other stuff. So like if you had Samsung anything, it was perfect. It would run on the
yeah,
speakers and stuff like that. So it was really cool. But once you left that ecosystem, like it didn't. I don't think it
yeah,
ran on like iOS, for example. So it was a
yeah,
bit of a pain
yeah,
there. But it was pretty sweet to be able to like test in house and see how people were doing things. And then once we
right,
like, use that recommendation engine, things got a lot
yeah,
better. But again, it's like you're saying, so it's going to grab the things that like everybody else will relate to each other, but not. It won't know the new music that's relevant,
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah,
Good idea. Oh, we got Drifter Thrifter is back. Good day.
yeah.
Good day. This is I think this is Drifter Thrifter 2. This is not version
Ah,
1.0. Yeah, so the icon has changed.
yes, yes.
We're watching. But I
Um,
do find those recommendations very interesting. I
yeah.
do miss Pandora. I don't think it ever really came to Canada. I used to have to use a VPN to use it,
Mm,
but I did really like the recommendations based on elements of music. So you could say like, if
hmm
you like this time at drum beat in this metal
Right.
song, then you might like this disco song, which is like
Right.
that's
Right.
a whole next level kind of thing. So you like Four on the Floor bass.
Yeah.
Here's another band just like that over here, but they're completely separated.
Right.
Or like this session musician played in this band, but also was on this
hmm
album. There we go. So yeah, we've got a picture. So we know we can keep you separated. Uh,
But yeah, I'm excited about this Apple Music Classical. And I also liked that, I kept trying different tracks and seeing that so many of them were lossless and
great.
able to use. I mean, Atomos, um, uh, setup. And my Sonos bar, Arc bar, plus the rear speakers for my home theater are all
Oh,
Atomos.
nice.
And so
Ah,
trying out that for a little bit. I haven't really played
right.
around too much, but
Now I wonder, like when you're trying to figure out how to mix that recording, does it do like the spatial audio kind of thing? Are you in the orchestra? Are you in the
I
audience?
don't
Like
know.
I wonder what that
I
point of
didn't
view
have
is.
my AirPods with me, so I'd like to try
Yeah,
that.
because you get the spatial
Uh,
audio too, right?
right,
Yeah.
right. Um,
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It kind of depends on the
yeah,
album and how it's like mastered or something, like what they
yeah,
expect you to get out of the experience. So I do wonder if it's like you're the point of view of the conductor. When you turn
right,
left and right, you're seeing like the percussion's on
yeah,
the right or something like that because it's laid out a bit different. But as an audience member, the spatial audio is also different. So it's
right.
very, very
A
cool.
friend is setting up his own music studio, which is all
Nice.
set up to do Atomos mixing,
Wow.
and
And
I was
Atomos
learning
means
a
a
little bit
speaker on
about.
the ceiling, right? Well,
Yeah,
at the very
speakers on the
least.
ceiling and all around you.
So cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know in an orchestra what you would hear above you, but maybe
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I mean, depending on the
the opera
acoustics of
singer on like lines or
the
something.
acoustics of the hall that you're in, they bounce
Oh,
above.
oh, that's true.
Um,
That's true.
and I definitely heard. I remember getting a little bit of like an introduction to the idea of that when you do the kind of the tour of the um, the music hall in Boston, that where the Boston, what's the Boston
Philharmonic.
Orchestra Philharmonic, yeah, where they play, um, and because that was apparently was the first music uh, venue that was built in the US to be for music and for
Oh, that's so cool.
anything that was where music was played at a in a building. It wasn't built for music, and this was the first one that was built for that specific goal.
That's really cool. Oh, it looks like yes, we get
Oh.
some feedback. Apparently, spatial audio can be not for everyone, according to Richard here. It depends on the person. I do know the first time I tried like the spatial kind of thing, it did throw me for a loop, especially if you're walking around and like it's not.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this before, but I hadn't done the AirPod mapping
Mm,
thing properly, and
right.
it really it, it kind of
Yeah.
throws you off. It's like an inner ear imbalance thing when you turn, but the
Yeah.
music doesn't turn at the right angle. It
Right.
does not feel good. So I can understand. So what they're saying is that their wife thought that there was something going on in the room and didn't like it. It felt weird kind of thing. So I totally get that. It's definitely like
Yeah.
once you've tuned it to yourself, I don't feel like you could take the headphones off and give it to somebody else and it'd be the same.
No.
You'd want to go through that pairing process again.
Yeah.
I'm excited. So for me, I think
Yeah.
it's a Suzuki Cantatas that I really like. So there's just
Mm,
one SACD that's random that somebody recommended online as like a good test of the Super Audio
uh-huh.
CD, and I've just listened to
Uh-huh.
it so many times. It's really good.
Okay.
So I'd like to
Huh.
to demo it on the Apple side. So I'll download it as well
Yeah.
and give it a good
Yeah.
listen. But yeah, super good.
Cool.
So
And
in terms
then
of recommendations, the one that I had was Dark Time Sunshine, that trip hop band from Seattle,
okay.
Washington. I would totally recommend. Apple recommended to me using whatever methodology that we were just talking about.
Right,
But I
right.
really liked them. It's kind of down tempo. It builds up the hip hop. It's not too
Yeah,
hardcore. The lyrics are pretty
yeah,
good. I thought it was quite good and brand new to
yeah,
me and somewhat local. So like, yeah, I feel sort of connected to
yeah.
Washington. It's right there.
Yeah. I can't think of
What about you?
many
You,
things that
you looking around your desk?
I'm looking around
I,
my desk looking for. So, I well, yeah, I don't have anything new. I do. I was very excited about another item that you pointed to in
yep.
your, you suggested three things. The
Yep.
Amazon showing this is
Oh,
an item that's returned a lot.
yeah. Frequently
Um,
returned items.
yeah, I thought that was a great. I wonder if some of the things that I have returned have been on that, have that warning. It sounds like not a lot of things have that yet.
It's still pretty new. I've
Yeah.
bought stuff and returned it a couple times. I like bought it through Amazon warehouse, which means that
Yeah.
it's already been returned. A couple times now. The times that I've done it is when people have repackaged the old thing and the new thing's box. It's happened to me
Mhm.
twice. So
Mhm.
I bought a DJI Osmo 6 according to the
Mm.
listing, and it was a 5, and it was pink in the
Oh,
box. I don't really care about the pink; doesn't bother me. But like, it
yeah.
was supposed to be black, so
Wow.
you got me there. So I had to return it, and there was one other thing where it was just like the wrong item or like missing stuff, and
Yeah.
that kind of sucks. But I would like to know that mostly because I do like buying the used stuff from Amazon. I find the deals are good. The shipping's like
So
often better than buying it new, which is crazy.
really,
Yeah, but I'd like to know like what's returned
Amazon
often because that
warehouse?
would be better. Amazon warehouse. Oh, have you not seen this?
No,
This
I
may
don't
blow
know
your
anything
mind.
about this.
So if you go under, I think it's called deals section. The US site and the Canadian site are a little bit different, but at the top left there
Oh,
should be something called Amazon deals, and then if you
yeah,
click it, there's a little
Amazon.
flyout, and then the flyout has
Okay.
warehouse, and there's second chance and a few other things. But they used to have like overstock.com, I think is one of those now.
Oh, okay. And so if I look at, okay. Oh, okay. So Amazon warehouse. Okay.
And I'm so bad. Okay, so there's a couple things you can do. One thing that I'll do if I'm bored, because I don't really shop too much anymore, I'll type in Sony and then just go through all of the Sony
Uh-huh.
things. As I'm listening to something like a podcast, because I'm just scrolling through the list or eating lunch or whatever. Yeah, I'm in
Huh.
Vancouver. Yes, drifter, drifter. Um,
Yeah, okay.
go ahead.
Go. Go ahead.
Okay, so the
Okay.
other thing you can do is you can sort it by discount level. So there's special codes that you can get online to figure out like what the discount level is of the thing in warehouse. And you can do it for things that are only like 50% off or more. So 50% or more percent off or
Uh-huh.
70% more or off. What happens is I think they sit in the warehouse and they're like tagged. And the longer they sit in that warehouse, the more of a discount they get. And some of the things like
Wow.
are quite cheap, but they're also quite old, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really make sense to buy. But you can see the things that have been sitting there for a while, and they'll be like honestly very niche things that people wouldn't buy, but sometimes they're good. Like I found a really good XLR cable in there one time, a good
Uh-huh.
mic stand, and stuff like that. I think I got my SM7B used from there. Like they will often have discounts. Sometimes it's $10 off. Sometimes it's like
Right.
like a significant discount off. But again, what I found is whatever logistics system they're using will often mean that I get this item much faster than I would just buying it new from Amazon, which I find super interesting. So even sometimes when the price is very similar, I'll buy the used one just because it will get to me faster, which is handy. And you'll see those ones under like the multiple ways of buying if you go under the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
But
often seen that and I've thought,
right.
I don't I I've
It's
never I've
it's
never done
okay.
it.
It's
Okay.
okay. And when you return the stuff, it's not too bad. They'll give you like a return label that you print off. And at least in Canada, we've got like a system where you can scan the barcode at the actual post office. And as soon as you scan it, Amazon knows that you've dropped it off and they'll
Right.
start your refund right away, which is actually
Yeah.
pretty awesome. It's a
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
cool
I
system.
definitely have that.
So, so I get the return often thing because for people like me who are like deal hunting through the warehouse, like this
Yeah.
is actually next level. This is super, super handy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
this is me being
I
a little bit
I just
frugal.
returned an item yesterday, or no,
Okay.
was it yesterday or this morning? Um, but it was a new item. I mean, it was the Black Magic speed editor.
Right. So what I
Yeah.
was saying is, okay, so you returned that in the US.
Ah, yeah.
I think in Canada, I can then go look for it and I'll find it. And again, it'll cross the border faster than like buying it new somehow. It was like Amazon's doing something. I don't know what it is, but like it'll get here
Wow,
next day for most things. Which
amazing.
like I just can't see too many Canadians buying this Black Magic speed out
Right.
there. I could be wrong. So I'm gonna go looking for the speed editor and see if I can just leave it in
Yeah.
the store and grab it later.
Wow.
I'll see if I can find it. Oh, it
Yeah.
is in here. It's just it's the one with the jog wheel, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't look like it's there yet. I'll keep watching.
Yeah, that usually with anything I return, I get the money back like as soon as it's scanned by UPS store or
Yeah, isn't that
USPS or
awesome?
whatever it is. But this one, it said it had to be returned, and they would actually get the box, open it up, and look, and
Oh, maybe
then
it's like
give
higher
you,
value items or something.
yeah,
Okay.
because it's
But do
four
you
hundred
do you
dollars.
have like this little locker thing? So you scan it and then like you open this
Ah, yeah,
locker and
yeah.
put it in the
I've
locker
seen those,
closes?
but and if but for most of the returns I do, I just take it to a local UPS store.
Gotcha.
So which is interesting. I actually had I got into the UPS store, and there was somebody else who was already there. These are franchised locations that do copying and photocopying and passport photos, but they also are a UPS shipping location. Um, and somebody else was asking, well, restrictions on the box, that he wanted to send something, and what any restrictions on the box? Can it be from a FedEx box or a USPS
Right.
box at
Right.
UPS stores? I said, yeah, we don't care about that. The only
Right.
restriction is it cannot be a box that has alcohol labels on the outside. It can't be a box for a case of wine or something. You can't ship that. You can ship
Oh,
wine. Well, actually, I don't know if you can. I think they
okay.
had, this, but and it wasn't a UPS restriction. It was the franchise owners for this one location. So
Interesting.
uh, you can, in fact, apparently you can buy firearms through Amazon, um, and and then
Wow.
you can, if you don't like it, you can return it, and and sometimes those firearms you just bring it like it doesn't even have to be in a box. You just drop it off at this UPS store and they
Yeah,
box it.
they said if I use their courier, they come to my house and I was like, no box required. And then I was thinking about the
Yeah.
things like coming like
Yeah. And
probably need a
so you
box,
could
just
basically
like a
drop
vase
down
or
this
something. I was
gun.
thinking firearms, but like yeah, a vase or something like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
just they're coming to
You,
my door and I'm just gonna give them a firearm and they're gonna walk away.
yeah. Then they'll pack it for you and ship it off. That's fine. But if there's liquor on the outside of the box, that's not allowed.
Interesting. Drifter saying we're probably gaming in the system by you buying stuff, returning it, and me buying it. Maybe, maybe.
That
But we
could
haven't
be,
done it yet. We're just gonna see if the system works. That's all.
yeah. Yeah. But that's neat. I've never really looked into this. I should definitely play around.
It's pretty
Um,
handy. I don't know if you ever used overstock.com. It's got some of that stuff as
no.
well. It's like
Yeah.
guess again deals or not guess again. There's a term
Hmm.
for it. You missed out deals or something like that. It is pretty
I've
handy.
never understood I mean, if something is,
Outlet deals,
let's
sorry.
say this Black Magic thing, it was $400 new.
Right.
What would the price be if you bought it secondhand?
Oh well, I just looked in Canada. It was $660. So that's what your $400 becomes here.
Oh,
And then the discount I think immediately is like $10 off. It seems to be like it's not a percentage.
why
It's
would
like
anybody why would anybody take $10 off? I mean, it's
well,
not
wait,
worth it.
there's more. The longer it stays in the store for a niche item like
Yeah.
this, the more of a discount you get. So you can just watch it over time. Now, I don't know if it's like 1 week or 2 weeks, but we could try this. We could watch this thing because I can't see
Mhm.
somebody buying the speed editor use. No offense, Matt. It's
Yeah.
just like it's like hyper specific. So maybe we
Yeah.
can track it
But I mean,
and figure out where
anything.
it
I'm like
goes.
even a A7R3 or a
Right,
whatever,
right,
high end camera. I mean, if I'm
right,
only saving $10, $100,
right.
$200, I couldn't see the value of getting a used product that who knows what's happened to it. Yeah,
Yes,
maybe it has a warranty, but I still have to deal with a warranty.
You got it. In fact, perfect example, because whatever discount system they're using does not apply to like cameras, which decrease in value very rapidly. So
Oh, okay.
like it's not that it doesn't apply. It's just it's not worth it for cameras. So it makes
Right.
more sense to buy the camera new years later than to
Yep.
buy it used, because their
Yeah.
used devaluation doesn't devalue as much as the camera itself does.
Okay.
Now, on other things like for grip, like stands, that kind of stuff, it makes
Hmm.
sense because stands are going to like keep
Oh,
their
there's nothing
value.
you can. I mean, yeah.
You always need grip. You're always going to need a
Yeah.
tripod, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so Drifter's touching on the thing that I was thinking about. Like, you buy a firearm, you commit a crime, and then you return the firearm. That's immediately where my brain went to. And I didn't want to say anything, but like,
Yeah.
that's scary to me, especially if it's crossing the border. I feel like firearms is one of those things where like maybe Ryan can't buy that used from that in the US, but like even in the US, if something happened in like one state and then you're buying in another, and then you've got a
Right.
firearm that's been used, I have so many
Yeah.
questions.
One of the. I mean, I saw in open up New York Times the other day. I think it was New York Times or some other news source, and seeing that uh, talking about firearms. People are storing their firearms in their car, and then the car gets broken into, and the firearms are stolen, and then the firearms are used in some shooting, yeah, a
Oh
gang
wow,
shooting or
yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
else.
And then if it's
But
registered
the
or whatever,
person
yeah,
who but the person who originally bought that gun and didn't secure it properly, they're not
right.
charged for this crime, which, I mean, they should totally be responsible for the. I mean, if they bought the gun and they lost it, however it happened to get lost, how come they're not getting thrown in jail for this crime?
I don't know. As a mere
Ridiculous.
Canadians, the way
Yeah.
things work in the US is quite
Yeah.
different to me.
Yeah. It's horrible.
It, it's very very interesting. But yeah, I hope you get something out of this. There's quite a few other things. There's like watch deals,
Yeah.
outlet deals, and warehouse deals.
Mm,
The warehouse deals for me seem to be the best. The outlet ones are pretty good. The other thing is, as part of that, is like you can sell stuff to Amazon. You can straight up just sell them stuff, and they've got a list of things that like are in high demand. One of them is the Stream Deck, which I thought was interesting. So the
mhm,
Stream Deck used is in high demand. So if you want to
mm,
like sell your Stream Deck to them, they actually give you a pretty good value on like what what a Stream Deck would cost. Like, okay, so
right.
maybe it's $100, they're offering you $80. So I thought it was pretty neat. So they've got some
Mm,
items maybe that went through back order or something like that are like
right.
higher demand for Amazon, and they'll just buy it off you, which I thought was pretty cool too. Like older phones and things like that. So they've got some lists of stuff that I think it's called the Second Chance program. But I do think as we get more and more into like the e-retailing thing, that whatever the secondary market needs to also
Right.
be addressed, because I feel like that's where we should be going. Is like the reduce, reuse, recycle kind of area. Like
Right.
buying new, I get it. We all want to buy new, but like let's let's be real here. The more we reuse, the better off. And if we can make it easy, which I think Amazon's doing, then the better for it. It's just like the fact that you don't know about it though is kind of disappointing to me. Not on you like your part, but on theirs. Like I wish they would advertise the warehouse deals a little bit more,
Yeah.
because I do think it's a good way to get towards that. People like discounts, and they're okay waiting a
Yeah.
bit to get something that's been sitting in the warehouse for a little bit longer.
Yeah. Hmm, this is interesting. I mean, I say things like, I mean, I've got a bunch of C stands, and it would be nice to find. Sometimes they're create more expensive than they should be, and it would be nice to save a bit on those. But I mean, I'm looking at. I mean, just if I look for. So if I look at the used, other ways of buying, and it shows
Right.
up, those are going to be warehouse.
Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. So there's other sellers. So Drifter's saying that they currently sell on eBay and they're looking at selling on Amazon as well. My understanding is you can also be listed as like an Amazon seller and be used. So when you look under used, there will
Mm,
be like third parties in there as well. I think the warehouse deals are just Amazon. So it's like things that
right.
were sold by Amazon and then handled by Amazon after is kind of
Hmm.
how it goes. And yeah, some of the deals, like some of the used things are actually more expensive than new. So watch out for that too.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this, the Newer. I don't know if I've
Right.
ever bought the C stands from Newer. I would have gone to Matthews, or I don't know why. I don't know if there is any difference between them.
Well, I've got two. So how much are they?
So the two new is
Yep.
217 US dollars.
Okay. Which is a really good price for C stands for those
Um,
listening.
and then and that will be free prime delivery. I would receive it on Tuesday, April 4th. Or the same 2-pack is $192 with Amazon Warehouse, and I will receive it Monday, April 3rd. I would receive
Ah.
it the day before.
Yeah. So like maybe you save 20
That's
bucks and like
amazing.
so I got one of my C stands from Newer used. It was like the champagne colored one. I would never buy a champagne colored C stand, but it was 30 bucks off. And it's like they're already really cheap. For C stands, like
Yeah.
honestly, they're really cheap. That 2-pack, the black ones, the spring is really squeaky and annoying. The champagne one seems to be the premium version. It's actually a lot better. It's air cushioned. It's quite a bit better. But like honestly, for a C stand at that price and getting it next day, that's
Yeah,
pretty next level. Because C stands,
yeah,
again, for those listening, they're 6 foot tall. They're 100 centimeters.
yeah,
They're very big. They're very heavy. These ones come with arms and grip holders, which is like again pretty cool. And they're
yeah,
modular, so they'll last you for a long time. But yeah,
yeah.
I've been super impressed.
Wow, this is cool
All right,
stuff.
here we go. Sorry, I think I nerd sniped you.
Yeah, I'm just looking at well, okay. So I mean, here's something that I've actually bought in the past. Kupo Baby 5/8 inch offset arm.
Oh,
Um
now you kill me because that's one of those things that I can't buy from Amazon in Canada is Coupo stuff. I love Coupo
okay.
brand
So
gear. Yeah.
$39.
Okay.
I'll receive it day after tomorrow, new.
Okay.
Um oh, this is not from Amazon
Oh,
Warehouse.
it's a
This is
different
from
use
some
of it.
other store.
I think Adorama's in there too, which is interesting, which
Yeah.
is maybe how things get confused because that's where like I would normally get Coupo gear anyway.
Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, I
But it
will
was
often
like
be in warehouse looking up
$28.
like Matthews,
$28,
Avenger,
but a week
Coupo.
later.
Oh yeah, yeah, it
And
depends.
that's not, and
No,
and you
that's
have to pay
that's
$5 shipping. So it's only $5 less and a week later. Ridiculous. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah. So Drifter's talking about the Linus Tech Tips app. I'm kind of waiting for the dust to settle on that before I talk about it. These are people from British Columbia
Oh yeah. Yeah.
who got their channel taken over. I'm waiting to see what actually they did say it was a PDF, but they haven't actually said more than that. I'd like to hear exactly what happened, but apparently one of the people got like an infected PDF that they opened, and because of that, they get into the system and scroll around until they get their keys and shut
Yep.
down a bunch of channels, that kind of stuff. The really interesting thing there, like ignoring all the hack, is the fact they knew people at YouTube to get those channels like
Yeah.
give them back to them really quickly, which I thought was interesting. So like if you hit a certain level, I guess, on these networks
Yep.
where you're making actual money, then you get actual support, which is nice to
Yeah.
hear. So like if you get a certain size, you could probably call your account rep or whatever and get through it that way, or like your YouTube rep.
So I actually experienced. Oh, are we on a shared Datadog shirt day?
I think we are, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we are. Okay. Um, so I got an offer. Every now and then I get, oh, we would like to sponsor a video. It comes
Right.
for a while. When I was actually doing a lot of videos, I was getting them a lot more often. Now
Mhm.
I get, once every like 6 months, I get another email saying, oh, we'd like to sponsor you. It's like, and I'm always like, sure, I'll I'll respond to a few emails, and so I've responded and said, tell me more, and said, and eventually we got to a point where we'd like you to talk about, it was this video editor. It's I can't remember what it's called. Some Filmora, I think was it.
Oh,
Um,
right. You have brought this up before. Yeah.
and so they send out this contract, but it was a format that I didn't recognize. I was like,
Right.
what's this
It
crazy
was like a
thing? Send
screensaver or
me.
something, right?
Yeah, it was a screensaver, and then and so I didn't. So it's not like I mean, I tried to open it, but I couldn't because I
Because
don't
you're
know
on a
what the
Mac.
screensaver format was.
Yeah.
So I almost bought into it. I almost got scammed, and then I noticed, oh, it's actually from a hey.com email address and not
Mm,
Filmora's or Wondershare or whatever they're called.
right.
And then actually on their webpage, they've got, uh, you know, people are, offering to sponsor your videos. Don't believe them. If it doesn't come from us, it's not us. We do not do this stuff. And it was right around the time that they got some negative press because they had a new version, and people with lifetime licenses no longer
Right.
had lifetime licenses. That
Right.
was only up until version one n-1. And so yeah, it was weird. And so I think, at the time I couldn't understand why would somebody do this. And now,
Mhm.
even though this isn't a channel that gets a huge number of views, still there's 4,000 subscribers. So maybe that's, if they just have one of those whatever they're trying to sell,
Right.
just a few people on there that just gets that video seen more. So
Yeah,
it's
Drifter's saying they don't open anything anymore through attachments, and I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm so
yeah,
sorry. Send me a link, or maybe even there I don't really click the links because I'm just very paranoid.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm waiting to hear about like what vulnerability
yeah,
was
yeah,
actually used in this PDF to make it actually work, or
yeah,
if they're like patching the systems. I don't want to say it's a Windows problem, but like again,
right.
generally
But then there
this
was
has to do with
there was
Windows.
GitHub, their SSH keys. They cycled their RSA SSH key because one of
Really?
a GitHub employee basically pushed a change to a public repo that had their RSA
Oh
SSH key
no!
in
Oh
it, and so
no!
they had to cycle that. So anybody who is using SSH using the RSA SSH key and not the ED 25519 or
Right.
the other one, they'll get a message saying, "Oh, maybe this is a different host," or a warning because the known host is different. Um, so that happened on Friday.
Shoot, I totally missed that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So
All right.
yeah.
I
Well.
think that's all I had.
Yeah.
I still have a bunch
Yeah.
of news. I don't know if this format works for you or not, but I'm happy to
I
spout
think
any
this
news
was
and
good.
figure out
This
what's
was nice.
interesting. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, it's pretty easy for me.
I think, yeah, yeah. It means we don't have to prepare. We don't have to do anything, and we just show up and chat, and it's good. I like it.
Yeah, I'm happy to give you stuff to see if you like it in the
Yeah,
morning. Go from there. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm a drifter. I'm ignoring all emails and texts. Yeah, definitely phone calls. Just if you don't open anything, it's like Pandora's box. If I don't answer this call, then I can't be hacked. Or don't open the emails. So I'm just looking. So I
yep.
don't know how many hundred emails I've got, but like I think it's in the hundreds of thousands here. Let's see. So I've got 242,000 unread emails. So that is my current strategy.
Good, good.
Just don't open them.
Yeah.
If they need me, they'll call and I won't answer. It'll be perfect. All right, sir. Should we call it?
Okay, I think we should call it. Alrighty.
Awesome.
Thanks so much. I'm gonna find that button. There it is. There it
Awesome.
is.
See you week after next.
Too